Boom. I think
Boom.
as a marathon runner, you should take us in.
I would, but I don't have the show notes. I don't think you shared me a new one yet.
I did via email.
I'm looking in my docs and I'm not seeing it.
In
There
email?
it is, Adam Bale. 3 minutes ago. Oh, 3 minutes ago. Fine. Well, on that note, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, and welcome to the Blurring the Lines podcast, episode 158. I am your host, Peter the Marathon Runner Nikolaidis, and joining me as always is my co-host, Adam, the not yet marathon runner, but frequent CrossFitter, Bell. How you doing, Adam?
Hey, Peter. Good to be here. How you doing?
Well, as we were talking about a little before we started recording, I'm having a good day. Let's just leave it at that for right now. We'll go into some of the reasons why.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah. Well, as I subtly hinted,
now that you have a new title behind your name.
Boom. Standing on top of the world. Sorry, I haven't warmed up my vocal cords. That was really off key. No, I'm feeling pretty good. As I not so subtly hinted, did run and completed the 33rd annual Bay State Marathon, my first marathon.
That was fun.
My time was not as good as I had hoped, but apparently that's a thing. Apparently, like most people say that after they finish marathons. So, okay, fine. 4 hours, 38 minutes, which based on the number of contestants put me in the top 83rd percentile.
Which is pretty good. Yeah. It said you had an average pace of 10 minutes and 37 seconds per mile, which is pretty good pace.
You know, I was hoping to average 10 minutes. I did make 2 full-on stops. So one earlier on, my running buddy, Greg, and we stuck together for like the first 18 miles or so. He had to stop. He had eaten something that did not agree with him that morning. Classic blunder of making a change on race day. Tried something new. And so we lost a couple minutes there. And then at around mile 18, he was starting to slow down. And I had, struck up conversations with other folks along the way from time to time. And so I was starting to pull ahead with another guy. Coincidentally, the only other person I saw all day wearing minimalist shoes. So Dave from Cambridge, shout out to you, buddy. I would have stuck with him, but I stopped right after mile 20, AKA the wall. And I waited for Greg to catch up. And we talked it over, and as we were going, and as previously agreed upon, he had told me, like 3 times, go ahead, go on. So he cut me loose. So I finished about 8 minutes ahead of him. So I think I could have done 4:30 this time around had I applied. I definitely lost a little bit of energy a couple of times when there were crowds. Because I was like, dude, this is great. I love the cheers. So I put on a little bit of an extra burst of speed, which in the long run does nothing. And I would also attack some hills, going up them to try to get over them. But again, I think it was of questionable, benefit, for those. So ego got in the way a little bit of hare behavior where tortoise would have been just fine. I ate a lot. I ate like 7, I think a total of 7 energy gels and a Cliff, or six and a Cliff bar.
Oh, wow.
So while I was out, I took in like 700 calories and drank plenty of water. The conditions were perfect. Yeah. I came back and I was not drenched in sweat. I was fairly well dehydrated, but no real muscle cramping. Like that's the big thing. I was afraid I was going to wake up in the middle of the night and my legs were going to be on fire and stuff. Did not happen. But for the next 2 days, coming downstairs was interesting. My left quad. The best way I could describe it to my friends from Krav Maga was we do in Krav, we incorporate Thai kickboxing. And in Thai kickboxing, their signature attack is called the Shin Kick, where you're placing a kick using your shin to strike.
Right.
So unlike a karate style kick, with the edge of the foot or a pancration, with the flat of the foot or something like that, you're actually impacting with the shin because, it's one of the second largest bone in your body. And one of the things that you do is, you target your opponent's thighs. And that I've seen a number of times, like Boss Rutan has I think a few different videos where he won competitions by taking people out by kicking him in the thigh, knocking him down. It felt like I had been absorbing shin kicks all freaking day. That's how I felt. And then for the first time, my right arch felt sore. And normally I've had right stuff going on, but it's usually been the instep and the Achilles tendon, as I've mentioned on the podcast, since switching to minimalist shoes. But this was the first time that the arch was showing any sort of sign of weakness or whatnot. So Monday, complete day of rest. I did yoga. I did a rise and shine yoga class, and that was it. Tuesday, Greg and I went out for a 5K recovery run. It was fun and it was work. Wednesday, I went out for a 2-mile recovery run, and it was just work.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, though, my right foot had limbered up enough and had gotten some more flexibility. So I was doing some stretches, like planting and grounding into the balls of the feet, and then just, like bending so that to really, like flex and really stretch out the arch. And I think that's where I overdid it, because then I was having drinks with a friend later that night, and I, took my shoes while I'm walking around my house barefoot, and she looked at my foot and she's like, that doesn't look normal. And I looked, and my foot was swollen up like a balloon.
Oh,
and I was like, that's not, and I'm touching it and it's all squishy and like, it's not supposed to do that. So I immediately started icing it and compressing it. And I messaged my friend Jamie the next morning. He's a nurse by training. And he said it's probably either a stress fracture or soft tissue damage. Well, I'm leaning towards soft tissue because if it had been a stress fracture, I would think it would have happened during the marathon, probably not after. And B, it wouldn't have inflamed 3 days later, right? Yeah. Plus, I was actively like stretching the living bejesus out of that arch, trying to, like after that run, because I was like, oh, I finally have some mobility and flexibility. And I think I just like really cranked it. So it's sore. I've been resting it, elevating it, and icing it.
You've been ricing it?
I've been ricing it. Not as much compression though. Jamie advised me not to compress after the incident, right? Yeah. But yeah, I was taking calls, and this segues nicely into my second topic. I took my WebExes from the couch yesterday with the iPad mini.
There you go.
Left, foot elevated, wrapped in an ice pack, just so like, yep, that's pretty cool. So, oh boy.
Let me ask you a couple questions about the marathon before we talk about the mini.
Boom.
So you said mile 20, you hit the wall.
The wall.
What do you mean?
So apparently mile 20 is where people break down. Like most commonly, mile 20 is known as the wall for marathoners. And I even noticed, like, when we did our 18-mile run, I think I tweeted on it because I had been tweeting every week as we went around. I just did the longest run of my life. I just did the longest run of my life, right? And I think it was Dave Shackelford. Shackelford, he's an InfoSec guru, messaged and said, "Have you done your 20-miler yet?" Because 20 is a thing. And even like in the Bay State, they have all the mile markers spray painted on the road as you go around. And mile 20, it's like mile 20, quote, the wall. Because I don't know what it is about it, but apparently that is the place in a lot of marathons where when runners get there, they just bonk, completely run out of energy and fall. So I don't know what magic significance that mile has, but that's where I stopped, and I was texting Greg, I'm messaging him because I had my Apple Watch, and I'm, messaging him, telling him like, I'll wait for you at 20. Are you still there? I wasn't wearing my glasses, and, admittedly vision gets a little blurry and foggy after you've been running 20 miles. So I couldn't see him. Turns out he wasn't that far behind me, but I couldn't tell. There were still plenty of other people there, and I couldn't pick him out of the crowd. So yeah, okay, so that's the wall. What else you got?
So how did you get over it?
It wasn't a factor for me.
It wasn't?
For me, nothing magic happened at 20.
Okay.
And it's probably because one thing I did do differently was I was chowing down on plenty of sugar, plenty of energy gels. I did notice, because I was tracking, that my heart rate was in the anaerobic zone, in the like the 150s range,
right,
for pretty significantly, most of the race. On average, I think it was like 151 or so, which is above where I'd been training for most of the time, because we had not been emphasizing speed, and I had been, emphasizing staying below the aerobic zone to, to condition basically to move the aerobic zone up, so you operate below it, which, is how you actually get better at it. But then we were going above where I normally train, because given my age, my aerobic zone is like anywhere from 131 to 148 beats per minute. And so I was in the 150s. But it did not feel like that much, that different from our normal runs. It was longer, no question about that. But it didn't feel like this is a totally different game. So, that aspect of the training seems to have worked, which is pretty cool. Yep.
Well, I know, I've never done a marathon, but I have done a long CrossFit workout. Some like the Memorial Murph, it may take an hour to do that. And there's a point in which you're like, I cannot do another one. And I'm about halfway through. And there's really like a hard mental exercise right there of like, okay, what's it going to take for me? I've just got to keep moving. I can't stop, but I can't quit, and I can't go any faster. What do I do? You know, and so you've got to, whatever it is you personally have to figure out at your wall, how do you get over that? So,
and I think it's funny because, they say, running is 80% mental. And there's a podcast that I listen to, which they say, welcome to the 80-20 endurance podcast or something, where we believe running is 80% mental, and the other 20% is 80% mental. So it's only 96% mental, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty funny. I have been subscribing to a lot of running podcasts recently. And I've added a bunch, and I weed out a few of them that I just don't like. But the more I hear, the more the stories are the same. And it's kind of cool hearing like these people who are breaking world records and stuff, expressing very similar thoughts and concerns and experiences to what I'm going through. So I was just like, that's kind of neat, and but just knowing like we all go through this, it's pretty cool. I did also, I just watched a couple days ago, I think it's called Unbreakable. It's a video, it's a full-length movie, it's on YouTube, and it is the story of the 2011 Western States 100. It's a 100.2 mile cross-country ultra marathon out in the Western States. And the names, it's so amazing because I've been hearing these names in podcasts, and I have books by two of these people. And then suddenly, like, they're introducing all of the top candidates in this race. And it's like the Justice League has just come together. And I was like, Hal Kerner, he's the guy whose ultra marathon guide I'm using. And Killian Jornet, he's the guy whose book I'm reading right now called Run or Die. And Scott Jurek, he's the guy that everybody calls out, is like crediting them for getting into ultra running and stuff. And they're all here in the same place. I was like, this is cool. But that movie is really inspiring, really well done. And like I said, it's on YouTube. It's free. It's like an hour and a half long or so. Really good. Even if you're not into running, it's really cool, inspiration just to see the way these people do. And they go into a little bit of the backstory of all of the leading candidates as well. And I forget the guy's name, as the guy who did the very first one. It was a horse race, but then his horse gave out. And so he's decided just to run the race to finish it. And that became the race. And he's I don't know if he's competed every time since then, but he's competed in a lot of them. So it's a really cool, cool movie. So especially for me though, it's just like, this is amazing. And I have not yet signed up for it, but once my foot heals, I'm going to start training again. And I am planning on an ultra trail run for my next engagement. And coincidentally, there's one in the Middlesex Fells Reservation about 1.5 miles from where I live in December. What's really funny is it's the hardest trail. And Greg and I in the summertime, we ran it one time. And by run, I mean ran/hike/walked a lot of it. It's called the Skyline Trail, and it circumnavigates the whole Middlesex Fells, like in the hardest possible way everywhere. So wherever there's a steep incline, that's where Skyline goes. And there are other trails that parallel it that'll go like to the lower, and there's a lot where it overlaps with them. But Skyline has sort of become synonymous with me and Greg as hills and hells.
Yeah.
And so I'm starting to look around. I'm like, let me look for ultra marathons in Massachusetts, right? Because I'm spending more time in Vermont with my folks, so that's prime mountain training location up there, right? But I'm like, what else is nearby, right? And I look and I find there's literally one in the place where I train and trail run all the time, like right there.
Oh, my excuses just went away.
Boom. So Skyline, though, here's the thing. How do you make that an ultra? You do it 4 or 5 laps. And it's funny because Greg and I took, I don't know how long when we did it that one time, but these people, it's like, this is how you do it. If you do 4 laps, it's the 32 version. And if you do 5 laps, it's the 40-mile version. And I'm like, okay. So I'm not going to sign. Well, first off, it's registered. It's full already. And there are 120 people, capped. And it was funny because I showed it to Greg and his response was like, registrations are full. That means at least 120 people thought this was a good idea. So it was a lot of fun though. I no regrets, and I want to do it again.
Cool. Well, I'm proud of you. I'm glad that you set a goal and you did it, and you're successful.
I did the verb until I became the noun.
Cool. Yeah. Well, if I never do a marathon, my friend Peter did.
That's marathoner by association.
Yeah. I did do a half marathon with my wife. We walked it to support what's her name's club? Rosanna Dana. What's her name from Saturday Night Live? The comedian, the black-haired. She was. Well, I'll think of it here.
I got nothing.
Rosanna. Rosanna Dana. Yeah. The actor. Come on, Adam. Gilda Radner.
Gilda Radner.
So we did it with Gilda's club, and we walked it half marathon, and it took us 3.5 hours to walk a half marathon, and it was not fun. And it was a hot day. The weather was hot. It wasn't fun. And just standing for 3.5 hours in the heat was hard.
Yeah. And that's why I said like the weather, it could not have been better. It was perfect. And I was really concerned about that because the day before it was really hot and humid here, just the day before. And which was funny because coincidentally, the day before, October 17th, was apparently the day that everyone at the yacht club, which abuts my land, pulls their boats out of the river. So yeah, like this is the let's winterize, and they pull all the boats up into the parking lot. And so the entire road that I live on was just like full of SUVs and pickup trucks that were there, bringing their trailers in and stuff to pull to winterize, basically pull the boats out. And it's like in the high 70s and humid, which is like a little bit ironic, but I couldn't help but think like, oh my goodness, tomorrow I'm running. I hope the weather holds. But it was like 54 degrees at the outset, and it got into like the mid 60s. But again, the weather was perfect. I wasn't drenched in sweat. I didn't feel dehydrated. So I was like, I was very happy with the results. So
very cool.
Yep.
All right.
Oh, and we had a party. That was another purchase that I bought in addition to the iPad mini. I bought a little outdoor propane powered fire pit.
All right.
So a little campfire thing, and great investment. Great little thing. We had like 9 people just gathered around, hanging out, with it, having pizzas and beers and all kinds of junk food, like all the junk food. I am still, not today, but up until yesterday, I was still subsisting on largely party leftovers. Oh, and that was the other thing too. For the first time in my adult life after the race, I weighed in at, that I can remember anyway, I weighed in under 150 pounds.
Oh, wow.
I started the morning at 152 and change. So I was pretty low to begin with. But I was just like, okay, yeah. I'm not trying to lose weight, but it's like, hey, that's water weight and fat that I'm burning off. So I'm cool with that. So that was funny.
Yeah. Cool. So tell us about the Mac Mini.
iPad Mini. I bought the iPad Mini, the latest version. Now I had talked to you and I had mentioned that I was considering, so I have been waiting for the new MacBook Airs. And that I've been vacillating about buying a new MacBook and not buying one. I have a 2017 HP with a beefy Core i7 processor, and it's getting the job done. I like the iPad Air form factor because I love portability. But the fact is, I'm not porting a lot these days. So I don't really need a portable. So, and also the camera on the MacBook Airs is just inferior. So I wanted to wait for a better camera. Plus, it was the brand new first generation of the N1 processors. Yeah. I wanted to give things a little time to shake out. And by the time most of my concerns had shaken out, it was in the, well, you could buy it now, or you could wait for the new ones. So I had toyed with the idea of buying an iPad Pro and using it as a laptop replacement. Now, friend of the show, Scott Wilsey, believes he can do like everything you need to do, he can do on an iPad, right? For me, though, I generally am doing a remote desktop session to a Windows server or another desktop somewhere. So theoretically, that iPad makes a perfectly good client for that. So I could get away with that. So I thought about that. But then I said, no, maybe I don't want to do that. And then the new iPad minis came out and I was like, okay, I don't want to use, if it's going to be a desktop replacement, I don't want it to be a tiny little, or laptop this big, right? Because it's a tiny little, form factor. And then after thinking about it, I just decided one day, you know what, I'm just going to buy it just to have an iPad. I was listening to one of a podcast that I listened to, and the guy's like, I bought an iPad mini. I'm just so happy to have an iPad mini in my life again. I was like, I know that feeling because I've had 2 previous iPad minis and I really like them. I like using them as a tablet, as a reader, as a simple little device. So I did buy it with the Apple Pencil. second generation.
Mm-hmm.
I bought the pencil as a Best Buy open box, so I got it cheap there. And since
Mm-hmm.
I'm still technically a student of Champlain College, I used my student discount to buy the iPad mini. And I was dragging my heels on it and I was going to get it. And then one day I was just like, yes, I just do it now. And I paid $9, had it delivered to me same day, got the iPad,
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. And I love it. The handwriting recognition is amazing. I'm still learning the implementation though.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can write into any text entry field where you would normally have to type. You can write with the pencil in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still learning when it comes to like adding a new line or, new paragraph marker and stuff. I'm still working on learning how that works.
Mm-hmm.
But the Apple Pencil is really cool. The things and I had an email, I had a support call with Sophos the other day, and the guy was saying like, I'm not sure how this is set up. I don't, and I didn't have time to fire up Visio and break out a network diagram.
Mm-hmm.
But using the pencil in the email client, I was able to just insert a sketch, just draw right into the mail client and just boom, send it. So that's really cool. So I really like it. Typical Apple synchronizing your stuff from the iPhone to the iPad. I still have, I think I got this like 10 years ago, a Canx mini Bluetooth keyboard.
Yeah.
Rechargeable, USB B or A, whatever, old mini, USB mini, micro USB. Comes with its own magnetic case, to which the keyboard sticks. And it becomes a stand. So you just let the iPad lean right against it. And it's almost the same form factor as the iPad mini. So you can just stack the two together and hold them like this. So the case becomes its own stand. I've used this thing for years. It's great. It's not as good as a full keyboard, but I can be way more efficient at typing on this than the on-screen keyboard.
Oh yeah.
So I really like this. I've used this also with my iPhone at times. And I had to like crank something out, but I didn't want to do it in an RDP session. I'll open up Microsoft Word on the iPhone and just start typing away.
Right.
So I've been using that, and oddly enough, several days over the last couple of weeks, I really have been using my iPad mini as a laptop replacement. I have been working in a Citrix session, doing remote desktop for the hospital and stuff, and it works.
Yeah.
So there you go, but when it comes to like sitting on the couch and reading or whatnot, I will take an iPad mini over a full-size iPad any day. Okay. It's just, those are just, I don't want to have to use two hands at all time. At all times when holding an iPad. And that's what I have to do with anything larger than the mini.
Okay.
So, no, I like it. It fits in the pockets of my sweatpants. And I think it even fits in the back pockets of my jeans. Maybe that might be a bit of a stretch. But I can comfortably slide it in my sweatpants. And yes, I'm aware that it's there, but it's not super uncomfortably slapping around, against my hip. So that's kind of cool. The center stage feature that they introduced, I think about a year ago in the iPads, is awesome. So all these devices now have like super HD wide resolution cameras, right? So what Apple does is when you're looking at it, when you're on like a video call, either FaceTime or Zoom or WebEx, you're really only using a small portion of the video resolution, right?
Right.
So what you'll be seeing on screen is actually like this, which means that when I move, they just track me within the entire range of the camera's view, which makes it look like a camera is actually swiveling around and following you, even though it's not. The aperture of like where the camera is focusing just moves around. And it's amazing. It's really cool. Like I'm like, that is pretty neat, being able to just move around and have it like track me, like lean over to grab a cup of coffee and the camera swivels over to follow and stuff. I was like, that's neat. But in Zooms and in WebEx, though, it's a little funny because it hasn't quite gotten, it's not perfect. What happens is it looks like sometimes like it starts to zoom in on me.
Yeah.
And then it starts to zoom out again. And I'm not moving. I'm just sitting still, but it looks like I'm doing this. If you're watching the video, you would see me zooming in and zooming out and stuff, which is really kind of funny. I'm like, no one said anything about it, but I'm looking at myself like, why am I getting close? I don't remember zooming in. Okay. Oh, we're going away now. Okay.
Now we're going away.
It's pretty funny.
Well, AI,
AI, ML, DL, yada, yada, yada. So whatever. So anyway, so yeah, I'm very happy with the purchase. I got the 64 gig entry level version, $500, and the pencil. I did get the Apple Care on the monthly plan, so it's good for, until I cancel it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm happy with it. I like it.
Well, good. Yeah, I bought. Because I've got the iPad 12
Pro, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's the biggest one, right?
No, it's 11, so it's
Okay.
11 Pro. It's 11-inch inside.
11-inch, got it. Not the 12.9.
Not the 12.9. Yeah, the 12 is just too big. I
had one of those. I had one of those as a hand-me-down from a client who was getting rid of it, and I toyed with the idea of keeping it for a while, but if you're going to use it with a keyboard and a mouse as a laptop replacement, I think it's great, but it's so unwieldy. I just cannot use that thing as a tablet.
Yeah. And you can use it like as a clipboard. It's fine, but yeah, it's just too big. But yeah, I like mine, and I do the same thing with the pencil. The problem is my handwriting is really poor.
Yep.
And so it has a hard time recognizing my handwriting.
Yep.
And I have to write so slowly and clearly, I might as well type it.
Yeah. So, that's the thing is I'm kind of surprised that for me, it's really accurate. Even some and I can switch in the middle of a word from cursive to block script and stuff. And it's just like, I got it. Yeah. Some obscure words it doesn't get, but like last night I wrote fluffernutter and it got the letters just right. And so, the problem I have with it though is like when I want to enter a new line, or if you have a relatively small text box and you start writing, it's hard for me because I run out of space. So then I feel like I have to move back to the left and start writing again, but then it thinks I want to start writing and inserting at the beginning of what I was typing. I haven't figured that out just yet. Yeah. So I need to go through and actually do like a real tutorial and just see what it is I'm missing. Because there's some way you can like double tap and drag, and that makes like a text entry field for you to start writing into or something. Oh, okay. I've done it by accident a bunch of times, and then I can't get out of it because I don't know what I've done. But the gestures
and you know how to double tap to switch between two different things that you choose?
Like the eraser mode and stuff on the pen. Yeah. I do that a lot too. So yeah. So I'm enjoying it. I think it's really cool. And I do like, even when I turn off the recognition, the character recognition, and I'm just writing in sketches, I am using it as a notepad. So like when I'm in my one-on-one meetings with my, with my reports and stuff, I will use it just to scribble notes down. So my Rocketbook notepad has taken a place on the shelf it's in semi-hiatus now for a little while. We'll see how long that lasts. But I really do, there is definitely something, and this is like science-based, like there's more of an engagement, stimulation of different parts of the brain when you're going through the process of writing than when you're going through the process of typing. Oh yeah. And I'm pretty sure that's regardless. I was wondering, like, is there something to do with, paper, but, I don't think the medium matters as much as the act of doing that. So I really do enjoy that.
Well, because that's, if I'm brainstorming, if I'm really trying to solve a problem or come up with an idea, I do better writing it. And even if I'm writing on my iPad with that pencil, even though my hand, I just don't even try to do text recognition. I just go straight to notes and start a note, and I'll start writing what I write. And as I'm thinking, I'll end up rewriting what I wrote and correcting it and underlining this and, arrows. So like it helps me think and focus on new things and ideas. And, so it's definitely, you're tying your body and your brain together.
Yeah, exactly. It's there you go. It's that mind-body connection. Yeah, no, it really is. It's and I think it's pretty cool. I I like it. I like it a lot, and it just feels like more of a better experience. But and also it's like, here's the thing too, is like pro tip, when you're interacting with other people, if they see you writing, they think you're paying attention to them. If they see you typing, they think you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, let's be honest, most of the time, if you're typing, you're probably not. Yeah. You're probably not paying attention. You're probably paying attention to something else, updating your Instagram or Slack or whatnot. And we talked about that, about focus, about stopping multitasking.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little saddened, but not terribly surprised that I gave two of my analysts at the hospital a task to listen to an interview from a few years ago with Cal Newport. He's the guy who wrote the book Digital Minimalism. Mm-hmm. And there's this whole part on focus where he's talking about focus and how it's hard with distractions and all that. So I gave them a homework assignment, listen to the first 10 minutes. And then if you want, keep going or just skip ahead to an hour and give mm-hmm. me your thoughts and how you can incorporate this into our work. Mm-hmm. Neither of them got the subtext of stop multitasking. And it drives me nuts because I have to remind them every single time, because when I don't, we go into meetings and it's like this. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
You're not looking at the camera, you're not engaged, you're obviously typing, you're doing something else. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not cool. And I even remember about a month ago, I came into my yoga class and I had forgotten my my notes, my lesson plan at home. Mm-hmm. I wrote it all out by hand, left it on a Post-it on my kitchen counter. Wow. So I get to the office and I'm like, or get to the yoga studio, and it's about 5 minutes before class. And I'm standing there giving people, some instructions and stuff. And I, just looking up my lesson plan, and I say to the class, and just in case you're wondering, why is our teacher here looking at his phone in the studio? It's because I forgot my lesson plan and I'm retrieving it right now. I will then transcribe it and I'll be right back. And one of my students says, isn't it sad that I didn't think anything wrong of you looking at your phone?
It is sad.
So there you go. But hey.
So I do have a nifty that's not an item, but a show.
I also have a nifty that's not an item, but a show.
Well, isn't that nifty?
That is nifty. You go first.
Have you seen Only Murderers in the Building on Hulu?
I have not.
It's a Hulu original. It's got Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez are the main characters. Step-in characters are Sting, not the Matthew Broderick, but the other actor in Producers. He's one of the characters in there.
Pause for a moment, please. I need to multitask. I need a task switch. Open up my my Hulu app, and look at that right there. It's the first thing right there. Only Murders in the Building. I am adding it to my stuff, yep. Which I think that adds is Hulu my stuff the same as a watch list?
Yeah, watch list. Yeah. So
okay.
So we actually watched it almost in real time because they were 4 episodes in, and then we started watching it, and then we had to wait week to week to watch it. And it's really good. And we're actually going to go see Steve Martin and Martin Short on Sunday night.
Live? No kidding. Where are they performing?
At the Opry House.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I got, when I was younger, I didn't really care for Steve Martin that much. Mm-hmm. But I think I've grown to appreciate his humor a little more over time. Mm-hmm. But I gotta say, when I was a kid, I thought that the Three Amigos was freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
So that was fun. So.
Yeah. So So that's going to be good. So like I said, that's a good series. I enjoyed it. Elizabeth and Alexia and I watched that series, and it was fun. There's definite language.
Language is becoming a thing these days. You know?
Yeah.
It has become a thing. Language is a thing. There's a thing called language.
Why do you cuss all the time? What the blank are you talking about?
What the blank are you talking about? Oh, I tell you. So one of the shows that I have been watching is on HBO. It's called Titans, and it's based on the DC Comics super team. They're like the second tier Justice League.
Yeah.
When they first started, they were the Teen Titans, and most of them were like the sidekicks to Justice League people.
Yeah.
So like Wonder Girl, Robin, Kid Flash, etc. Right. And then over time they've evolved and matured a little bit and stuff. Well, the language has sure matured.
Yeah.
Because first season of Titans was epic. I was watching that and it was violent, right? I'm not language, a little bit of sexual content, but nothing, like the sexual content, not so much, right?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, we all do it. So is it really that big of a, we're disturbed by the language. But there was one scene.
We get here.
Yeah. Duh. But there was one scene where in my friend Josh, who's a really bright guy, in his words, I just watched Robin out Batman in a warehouse scene where he takes out like 20 thugs. And it was good. It was like, that's amazing. The fight scene was really well done and the acting was good and the, production direction was all really good. Second series, not so much. Third season is just gone way downhill. And like every scene has an F-bomb. Yeah. And I told my friend, Josh, I was just like, have you watched season 3 of Teen Blanking Titans yet? Because I don't know who the blank thought this was a good idea, but apparently the way you make a show successful these days is by having everyone say blank every blanking other blanking sentence. Yeah. And he replies, of blanking course they did. Yeah. And I'm like, and it's just so gratuitous. I can understand every now and then you let something slip out. But there's like one scene, like one guy is trying to tell the other guy, chin up, bro, he's like, oh, hey, Dick, chin effing up. Who the F says that? It's like, this is just so stupid.
You don't know how to encourage, my friend.
You're effing right, I don't. Yeah. So, but not just that though, but I don't know if you've ever watched like The Flash or any of the others, or Arrow, that are on the WB or the CW in the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
So that's another series of several DC, TV shows in the same like universe. And it's all teenage drama. Everyone ends up sleeping with someone. These people then, and in a couple of them, it's like these two keep on breaking up and getting back together like every other episode. And it's just like Titans is devolving into that plus language. And the fight choreography. I like to watch good fight choreography. It doesn't have to be like super realistic, but it has to be entertaining. And as somebody who is kind of trained and has some kind of fighting skills, I appreciate this.
Right.
It went so far downhill in season 3. It's terrible. So dude, they messed with the formula, and I don't know, maybe it messed back. It's really bad. So an anti-recommendation, a not nifty, is Titans season 3. But I have a show as a recommendation. As I emailed you this morning, my teacher, my yin yoga and meditation teacher, Josh Summers, I subscribe to his monthly Sangha. So I'm a supporting member of his his website. So I get unlimited access to his live and recorded lectures and yoga classes. He also releases a lot of his Buddhist Dharma talks as podcasts for free. And he has just started a series on basic Vipassana instructions. And Vipassana is a style of meditation that he's taught.
Okay.
And as you and I had started dabbling with that, but our schedules just didn't quite, collide. I figured I would just refer you straight up to the master. And, you can see what he's going. Now, I don't approach it the exact same way, but to say that he's been a strong influence on my practice is an understatement. And plus, this is what he does. Like, he is a trained, full-time practicing, yoga and meditation teacher of teachers, right? So highly recommended. And I've put a link in the show notes to part 1 of this series that just started a couple weeks ago. So if you're at all interested in meditation, check it out. If you're at all interested in meditation and yoga, highly recommend his podcast. And, if you're financially kind of strapped, for as little as like $5 a month, you can become a supporting member of his Sangha and get access to all the content there. So that's pretty slick, So
a secondary show that you might be interested in is the Hardy Boys.
I used to read the books when I was a kid.
Yes. And so I was kind of afraid, they did the Archie comics, they did that. And it was complete drama. I mean, it was
Eddie
like
and Veronica.
Yeah, it was like Desperate Housewives in, teenage. Oh, what was that?
So like Teen Titans.
Yeah, like that. So we gave it a shot. We're like, well, let's watch the Hardy Boys. I think that might be interesting. But I was like, well, if it gets real campy and teenage drama and angst, we're out. And it has been fun. And it has been, there's like a mystery. And, some of the Hardy Boys stuff was, it wasn't always practical, like, just completely fiction. It's like there was some nonfiction aspects of it that like there was magic this or that, and it made it extra whatever, extra unreal, but it was kind of fun. And so they've got kind of that element to it, and it's not bad. And there's no teenage drama, but I can see though, if they start struggling for content, they're going to evolve to, oh, well, this boy's kind of interested in this girl, but he's got a boyfriend or she's got a boyfriend, and
he could have a boyfriend too these days. It is 2021.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, did you ever, have we talked about Vikings, the series Vikings?
I don't know that you and I have talked about it. Maybe we have.
It originally, I think it started on Showtime for the first 6 or 7 seasons, and then Amazon picked it up.
Yeah.
Again, like the first several seasons, like, this is good. This is engaging, good production value, good acting, a little bit of language, but we're talking like, like Vikings 1,000 some odd years ago, so not no F-bombs. Little violent. They do some pretty graphic depictions of Vikings, which not the gentlest people on earth, right? But I really enjoyed the first several seasons, and then suddenly, like, spoiler alert, if you want to watch Vikings, in one of the later seasons, the main character dies. And they shift the context to his sons. And suddenly they open up, that episode opens up, that's all, okay, he's dead. So, we're going to focus on the sons and his ex-wife and her new wife.
Yeah.
And of course, they practice what looks a hell of a lot like Brazilian jiu-jitsu together. And I was just like, dudes, this is where, and I even tweeted this. I remember watching, I'm like, oh, so season 7 is when they jumped the shark. Got it.
That's when they jumped the shark.
I'm like, dude, like, let's take Ragnar's wife, let's make her a lesbian, and they'll be working out together. But just swinging axes and stuff isn't practical. So let's make them do jujitsu and arm bars and kimuras and leg locks. And I was like, okay.
And I'm out of here.
I struggled through it, for like a season or 2 after that, until I just finally said, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm done. And it's funny because I still keep getting recommendations to, like, yeah, you got to finish watching this. I'm like, I don't think I do.
Yeah.
I think I'm good. Can I remove this from my suggested series things? I'm full. I think I've seen enough. So yeah, another Vikings, the first several seasons, really enjoyed it. After that, meh.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, on that note, I brought us in. You want to bring us to a strong finish at the end of this marathon?
Yep. And well, real quickly. So I was in DC this Tuesday, and I was riding in a car, because of the time change and the flight and everything. So I ate my breakfast. Well, I ate my lunch at like 10:30 because of when my flight was going to go. And I got to DC at like 1:30. And so I was kind of hungry then. And I was in the back of this lift, and the sun was in my face, and I was somewhat hot and hungry. And so my stomach was pretty upset about then, not like seasick but I was pretty upset. And I was like, I think I'm going to meditate the rest of the way there. I'll be like, well, I'll just breathe. Let's just breathe. And I got all the way there. Stop thinking about the problem, and yeah.
You survived. Congratulations.
I didn't die.
Good use of your time too, if I do say so myself. One last parting thought too. I am a huge proponent of and user of Signal, the Signal private messenger. Folks, if you don't know about Signal, it's signal.org, signal.org. Secure messaging app. I say the most secure messaging app for iPhones, Androids, Windows, Linux, Macintosh desktops. Get it. Drop WhatsApp, drop Facebook Messenger, drop Google Chat, drop anything. If you have any sort of concern that you would want to keep anything private, use Signal. Okay. And also Wikipedia is another thing. Like, even if you don't know it, you're probably getting reference materials out of Wikipedia. It powers like Amazon search results. Wikipedia results are often at the top of Google search results and stuff. So those are two nonprofit organizations to which I will be donating this year. So just putting out there, listener, if you are at all, if you're looking for something good, I'll also probably be donating again to the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They do a lot to preserve our civil rights online, and the more, the more gray hairs I get here in this beard, the more I start to appreciate the work they're doing. So just a little shameless plug for some organizations that could use the help. So
yeah, very cool.
Yep. And with that, I turn it back to you one more time.
Yeah. Thank you. So we do want your feedback. If you'd like to discuss a particular topic, then you can drop us a line at www.blurringthelinespodcast.com. There's a form there, and if you fill it out, Peter and I will both get a copy of your question or comment. So other than that, I think it's time we hit the
big red button. We should coordinate that next time, so it's the big red button.